today we got the man, Alan Steinfeld. I mean, it's like going to the top of the mountain, the pyramid. We got the man. Anyway, just as an overview for us, we'd like to introduce Denise, who's the admin host of HomoGalactus,
Hey,
and
everybody.
and I'm the comedian in the act. HomoGalactus, just for those who to refresh your memory, that our mission with our channel is to assist mankind. Here, let's see if I can read it so I don't make a mistake. To assist adding momentum to the societal programming that we are primarily earthbound, labeled as Homo sapiens. So we're dedicated to the proposition that we're more than Homo sapiens. At this point, we're epigalactic, infinitely evolving, even pan-dimensional light beings, and we're made in the image and similitude of the Supreme Creator, whose essence is love, service, and holofractal action. And so that's what we want to do. We want to move the needle from earthbound consciousness to galactic consciousness. And that's exactly what our guest today is doing with his many things. The program of New Realities, which he's been doing for 30 years, and also this incredible new book, Making Contact. I'll tell you, this is a dynamite book. I reread it the last few days getting prepared for this. Yeah, and you got yours. That's even better. So, so that's where we're at that point. So, without further ado, I'm going to have a little intro here for, and this is published by a number of wonderful people. Let me see here. Let's see. Here we go. This is an incredible introduction. Alan Steinfeld is a writer, producer, and speaker in the fields of human potential, metaphysics, conscious evolution, healing, creativity, spiritual awakening, and cosmic intelligences. I mean, that's a mouthful right there. You thought I said something with epigalactic. This guy is epigalactic. We're only in similitude of him. And this, by the way, this review is from Evolutionary Leaders, and it depicts Alan and all the work that he's done with New Realities and so on. I mean, if I read this, it'll take up all of our time. So I want to be conscious that we have, because we got questions to ask him. But anyway, here we are. So pleased to have you, Alan. And I know that you always interview people. You've interviewed over 3,000 people in the last 30 years, but I've never seen anybody interview you. And I want to thank you. I know you have been interviewed, I'm sure, but I want to thank you for allowing us the pleasure of finding out more about you and interviewing you. So without further ado, I introduce you to Alan Steinfeld.
It's always good to see you, Rico and Denise, at all the conferences. We always have such a good time. I appreciate your openness, willing to hear far out stuff, and your process of evolution. So let's dive in. What should we talk about?
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna kick it off. Thank you for the intro. So the first time Rico and I learned about Alan actually was fairly recently, even though Alan has quite a repertoire and timeline with his experience. Rico and I were on our way to see J.J. Hurtak for the Easter conference of 2023. And in preparation for that, we were watching, excuse me?
2022, and I knew Alan. I've been a subscriber to New Realities for at least 10 years now.
Thank you.
But when I
well, for me it was 2023. But did I say that?
That was the first time. 2022, you saw him then, and again in 2023, but
we went in 2024. This is 2024.
Oh, all right, yeah, then it's 2020.
Okay, whatever. We were watching. Okay, thank you for the correction. You were wrong. Just kidding. Okay, so we started watching some Galactic stuff, some cool topics on YouTube because I'm a big YouTuber and I like to just trip around and, outside the box of the confines of the established media. I like to learn as much as I can, and we happened to find Alan interviewing Bashar. And so that was actually, I believe, that was the Friday, and we were going to go up to the J.J. Hertech conference that evening to get all set up. And he was one of the first people that we saw. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I just saw you on TV." And then, right away, here's my book. And then, so I just thought that this was super cool because he autographed it for me. And I feel like the three of us have become like the Three Musketeers lately. So anyway, I also want to thank you for allowing us this opportunity to get to know you. And okay, so here is my first question. Can you share a little bit about your background and how you got started with new realities and the field of conscious exploration?
That's a good question and something I like to think about and kind of reminisce because I've been in it so long. It's like the only thing I know how to do is investigate the unknown, the mysterious. So I grew up, if you read my book, right, I have a chapter where I talk about my science fiction obsession, and science fiction was a doorway into the unexplainable. And I always thought there were there. Nobody was talking about the mysteries. How come people are not saying, you know, what's out there, what's in space? How come people aren't questioning more? And they've been dumbed down by the culture that makes them want to fit in. For some reason, I didn't care about that. I didn't care about the I wanted to be, my own person. I want to go into my family's business, which wasn't very interesting. I just wanted to explore and learn and be curious, constant curiosity. And if you look at enough of the known factors, curiosity takes you into what's unknown. What is the nature of the soul? Who are we? Are we part of the great galactic beingness? And one thing that did open me up was going to see Ramtha, the channel Ramtha.
I remember Ramtha.
No,
That goes way back.
1980s, I went to see this channeling, and that sort of opened me up. It's like, wow, either this woman is crazy, she's acting, or maybe there's a 35,000-year-old descended warrior coming through her and talking about these higher knowns. And I had a real experience in that audience where I was, in a way, transformed, awakened. It was like an out-of-body experience. So your experience really dictates your interest. So I had that experience. I wanted to find out what really happened or what was how could consciousness be different than the body? So I started to read books about consciousness, spirit, and it opens up the door. When that door's open, like you're both into J.J. Hertach's teaching, that was another step along the way for me. Someone who had a real experience and talked about it. So once the door opens, there's no going back out the door saying, I didn't see that didn't happen to me. It's like it opens a world, and that world keeps growing bigger and bigger, and here we are today, Rico, and we're exploring new realities. Yes, so that was the opening. That was like a moment where things shifted. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
right.
we did take a quick pause because we wanted to make sure that Alan sounds perfect, looks perfect. We changed mics, we changed outfits, and hey, we're ready to roll again. Okay, so the other question that I have for you, originally I was going to ask who were your major influences, and I know that you talked about going to a Ramtha channeling session back in the 80s. Who else would you say would be a primary influence maybe since that time? And you can mention more than one if you'd like.
Oh, thank you for asking that question. Well, I did meet a really fantastic person named Paul Lowe. He's an English, I guess, teacher coming out of the Osho tradition. You know Osho? But he left Osho and he he started to just do his own thing without all the sort of fancy kind of glamour of the Osho Rajneesh community. Just very simple, just talking about being present. And said, he would point out the moments I wasn't present. And he said, did you notice that? Did you notice how you talked to the waiter? Did you notice that? And it was a good training in awareness. So that was one great teacher. I would host workshops for him. We'd travel around with a bunch of people and we'd go to beautiful places like Harbin Hot Springs and that was a good part of my training. And then I met JJ and Desiree Hertog, who really opened me up to the interdimensional quality of consciousness on many levels at once. And then at that same time, I had met Russell Targ, who was the founder of Remote Viewing at Stanford Research Institute. So he taught me remote viewing, which I am still teaching, and I'm giving you the link for my upcoming remote viewing course in July that you can both take. And then, I mean, everyone is my teacher, really. I mean, that's why I do the interviews, because I'm there to learn. You know, Bruce Lipton was great. You know, when I started to do the interview, I sought out people that I really wanted to learn from. And I heard about Bruce.
Like we're doing with you.
Yes. Like, I sought Bruce out and I wanted to hear what he had to know, what was his insight, and he was fantastic. You know, one concept that Bruce told me, and it's in my book. At the end, I write about that interview I did with Bruce Lipton in the epilogue of the book. And he talked about how evolution happens. He says one cell comes together to form not just a multicellular organism, but first there's a colony of cells. So let's say I'm hooking up with you two and we're a colony there, but we're not one organism. We have different points of view. But something happens in the evolutionary process there where if we stay together long enough, maybe, but we form a synergy of awareness. We'd have one thought that was common to all of us. That happens from colonies of cells to multicellular organisms. That is a key moment. So what the Earth is going through now is we all think we're separate human beings, and quantum physics says, no, there's entanglement of consciousness. But we're really one being from many, many perspectives, but we all think we're separate, so they're killing each other, they're making wars, they're ripping people off. They're doing all the things that humans have done because they have not seen that that's you over there, that's me over there. So that's one great teaching that I got from Bruce Lipton. And, you know, those are kind of teachers that make me understand the nature of existence. Why are we here? Who are we? You know, one thing Ramtha told me, or not me, but the audience, is there's a difference between the soul and the spirit. What do you think the difference is, Rico?
Well, the spirit is what your essence of existence is, but the soul is part of your operating system for your biological vehicle.
Right. That's one thing Ramtha did say. How about you, Denise? What do you think?
I kind of feel like soul is the heart connection that we have with others, our feeling. And the spirit is more ethereal, kind of what we tap into when we're in the dream state or if we're meditating or channeling.
No, there's no right answer. There's just...
I threw that out there, you know.
They're all right answers. It depends on your perspective.
That's right. So what Ramtha explained, that made sense to me, is sort of what you both said, that the spirit is this bigger part, and then the soul is the part that feels. It's this part inside of us that records feelings. So Ramtha's cosmology was, first we were created from the spark of the infinite contemplating itself. You know, when existence contemplates itself, there's a reflective awareness, and that was all of us. We are a reflection of the original source.
Right.
And we decided as creators to go out and manifest creation. So we're on the highest level, and we kind of came down in vibrations, but each vibration was a manifestation. We created kingdoms, and we are the gods that created all this. What you see in the world and what you see beyond, or what is beyond the world, that's us. And then we lowered ourselves into denser and denser forms. But one thing about creating reality or creating this manifested worlds is that we wanted to have the wisdom of those experiences. So the soul was created, according to Ramtha, that's just his point of view, to feel the wisdom of experience. So every experience you have is recorded on the soul, or the Akasha, people call it, as a feeling, as a memory, as a sensation, as in order to gain the wisdom of experience. And that's the soul that feels in the heart, yes. And there's a hollow chamber where the heart, behind the heart, that houses the soul. And the soul records everything in every lifetime you've ever had. And of course, we've had thousands of lifetimes, like as many as you can imagine, on many different planes and existences. And we're probably having them right now, many lifetimes. But this is the one we're aware of, and this is the one that our soul is recording. In this moment, we're having an experience. And then there are dramatic experiences, but each moment is to feel the moment. That's why we've incarnated here, to have the experience. It's why you're curious about what I know. I'm curious about what you know, because you're giving me new experiences. Maybe I'm giving you new experiences. I can't say. But that's why we've incarnated, to have the experience and the wisdom of experience. And that was a great teaching that made sense to me based on what I learned at that school. So that was a great teaching. Yes. And there's more.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so great.
Yes, I could go on, but yes, tell me.
Yeah, so I love that, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Rico, because my next question really was going to ask you what inspired you to create, the content around spirituality, UFOs, and consciousness. And I do really feel like you've kind of encompassed the answer to that in the first two questions. So,
Oh, I have more to say about that, though, because
okay.
what inspired me to create was, like, I was out there interviewing a lot of people, or just investigating the mysteries that really interest me, and I wanted to share it. I've learned something like what I just shared with you, and I want
Yeah.
other people to understand and share if they care to listen. What I've learned, because I've sought out the masters, I've sought out the people I very much respect. All the people in the back who contribute to this book are people I totally respect, their point of view, their perspective. I put together this book because, how else are we going to spread the information that I've learned except by media, where other people can? I mean, it's great that I know it, but it's not that. I mean, yes, I'm happy to know what I know and always searching for more truth, but it's also more satisfying for other people to share people may not agree with it. That's fine. They have their perspective, or maybe something you've learned can contribute to my perspective. And history is made by the evolution of consciousness, and that's what Homo Galacticus is all about. An evolution to be the galactic human, from the sentient earth-based human to the bigger human. So we're all helping each other up. We're all, as Ram Dass would say, walking each other home. So,
Awesome. Well, and I'm going to sneak in a little something that's outside of our planned agenda for our audience today. This book is really just super cool. I want to mention some of the individuals that contributed to and are topical in just the contents. So there's a foreword by, and if you don't mind, foreword by George Norrie. Most people know George Norrie. Nick Pope, And I just got to shake his hand at Ancient Aliens event in Phoenix. Grant Cameron.
I just want to say I could talk about it. Nick Pope. I wasn't sure if I should include him because he's kind of very mainstream. He's very nuts and bolts.
A little bit.
But then it came to me, if I'm really going to give a broad perspective, I need someone like Nick Pope. And, he's a friend. I called him up. And, the thing about Nick Pope that really got me to understand what I was doing was read the first line of his chapter. Can you just read that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes.
So while I'm flipping to that, just to tag along to what you're saying, I was wearing, I don't know if you can see it, I was wearing my Bashar t-shirt and crystal that I got from the Bashar event in Sedona. And I went to go shake Nick Pope's hand, and that was the very first thing he said, "Oh, Bashar." So I know he's mainstream, but he knows a little bit more than... Okay, so you want me to read the first 2 lines?
Yeah, first 2 lines. Yeah, or just the first sentence.
Oh, every story needs a villain.
That part, yes. So I really appreciated him writing it. He said, "Do you really want me to write this?" I said, "Yes, that's perfect," because he's not really a villain, but he's the counterweight to everyone talking about consciousness. But in order to have a big, wider perspective on what UFOs are about, you need to include the nuts and bolts. You can't not include that because there is a physical aspect. Yes, it's a lot about consciousness, but there is a physical aspect to the phenomenon. So.
Yeah, and if you don't mind if I go on, so Grant Cameron, UFO Disclosure and the Theory of Wow. Of course, Drs. J.J. Hurtak and Dr. Desiree Hurtak. Linda, oh, go ahead.
The great thing about Grant Cameron in that chapter, he says, and he's a Canadian researcher, he says, if you've seen a UFO, have you both seen a UFO?
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
I'm going to, though.
Well, if you have or you haven't, you're a part of the phenomenon. There's no innocent bystanders, and just by being here, Denise, you're not an innocent bystander. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. I won't interrupt again because okay.
No, this is great because this is very spontaneous. But it's really interesting because I do want to blow the cover of Linda Moulton Howe. I was in line waiting to board an airplane. And I saw this woman that had like a baseball cap and like this, a wrap around her neck and like sunglasses. I was like, okay, she's a little weird. She ended up sitting next to me. And so we started to talk about, access to the internet on the plane and higher level thinking. And then I figured out who she was. So she was incognito. And I had the honor of sitting next to her on an airplane for, a 1-hour trip. It was kind of cool.
No, I think she told me about you. Where are you going, from Phoenix to LA?
No, so Rico was living in Albuquerque, and I was going to visit. He was in Albuquerque at the time. I was flying to visit Albuquerque, and when I flew back to Phoenix, she was on the plane from Phoenix to Albuquerque to Phoenix when I flew home.
What was that?
Oh, that must have been what, Dad, like maybe 8 years ago? 2017.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and she lives in Albuquerque.
Yes, I bet she would remember you. I'm going to tell her.
Okay, that's such a small world. Like you said, we're all connected. But we got her email address, and Rico and I were going to take her to lunch. Now
Cool.
Neither one of us are in Albuquerque, but hey, you never know, right? All right, then we've got Dr. John E. Mack.
You know who he is, right?
I did read the chapter, but I'm not super familiar.
No, do you know who John Mack is? No, Rico. Did we lose Rico?
You asked me?
Are you awake back there?
Yeah, of course I am. Gee, I'm alive and totally vibrant.
Okay, wait. Do you remember who?
Tell us. Go ahead. We want to hear you.
Okay, I'll tell you who John Mack was. He is probably, I wouldn't say the most important, but his perspective really shifted the whole paradigm for so many. He was a Harvard psychiatrist, means he taught psychiatry at Harvard University. He was the head of the Harvard psychiatric unit, medical psychiatric unit. and he started to meet people who were talking about their encounters, their abductions, actually. And he said, these people must be crazy. And then he started to really talk to them a little more, a little deeper. He says, these people do not seem crazy. They don't have all the attributes of psychosis. They seem pretty clear. They seem pretty together. And he talked to hundreds, and none of them were any crazier than the average person, and actually even more sane. So he said, there's something going on with these people that seems to be true, that seems to be possible. And so he decided that these people were offering real experiences that were outside his realm of experience, but he couldn't doubt their realm. So he was a really important person qualifying the phenomenon, saying there's something happening here and we can't ignore it. We have to acknowledge this. And that was a big breakthrough. These people, abductees, contactees, saying, no, I know what happened to me, and it was real. So he was big, a big mover and shaker in this field.
Yeah,
That,
and then with all the people he talked to, there's a commonality in their stories as well, and none of these people know each other, right? And so it's like, well, if all these people are crazy, why are they all telling the same, very similar story? Then, then we have Whitley Strieber.
he is, right?
Yeah,
Sorry,
he's
I,
long
I've
history.
heard of him.
He's a kind of the grandfather of UFO dissemination. Yeah.
Well, he's one of them. He was the first to really describe his alien abduction. Actually, he knew John Mack, and who John Mack and Whitley both knew Bud Hopkins, who really, put the whole thing
Mhm.
together for a lot of people. So Whitley gave us the face of the little gray aliens. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah,
Big eyes, no nose, mouth. That's Whitley's description, and now that is historic. That-
wow, yeah. Henrietta Weeks.
He's a good friend of mine. She's the only person who's not an official UFO person, but
Okay.
big enough experiencer. So I wanted her to relay her experience, and it was her chapter's in a way disjointed because that's how experience happens. It's like, oh, one day you happen here, and then maybe you forget about it, and then something else happens here, and then you're reminded. So when you're interacting with this phenomenon, it's not linear, and the memory's not linear. So her chapter describes that, yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. And then, of course, we have Daryl Anka, also known as Who Channels Bashar. Mary Rodwell.
You know, Mary?
I don't know Mary.
Mary's talked to a lot of, and what Denise is saying, all these people have written chapters in this book.
Right.
That's
That's why she's reading.
But Mary has talked to children, starseeds, some people call them, came back with memories of their lifetimes, other places, and she recorded this and says, yeah, these people, these children, couldn't know a lot of advanced physics and things like that, and they all be from different star systems, and it's just a great overview of what's possible, what these children experience. And yes, who else?
Well, now, Caroline Corey.
Yes,
Carolyn Corey, you interviewed her for the
yes, she's a hiker, and she's the closest thing to a living ET. She really is.
Really? That's
Yes.
really cool. Anyway, I was just super impressed. And like you said, we're all connected, but there's a lot of common lines. And I love the way you expanded outwards and didn't really include, some people that may be a little bit closer on the mainstream side. So it was very well rounded and very good.
People are mainstream UFO people, but for the most part, but I wanted a whole view from the nuts and bolts Nick Pope to the experiencers to the facts to little out there stuff. Rico, you had a question.
No, I wanted to validate because everybody's read books and everybody has seen footnotes, but you have done two other things that they haven't. Number one is important things you made bold. That was totally cool. Other people might have done it italics or underlined, but you made it bold so that it stands out. So you don't have to look at the book and start looking to where you're going to highlight it. Um,
That
and,
is true. Yeah.
and also in the middle of that, you put in certain quotes from all kinds of people to
Yeah.
kind of reinforce what you're about to go and explain. I think there's two techniques there that nobody else I've seen. I've read many, many books.
Thank,
I've got a
thank,
huge library.
thank you for pointing that out. You're the first person to thank you, Rico, because I wanted to make it a little different than other books, and you really are the first person to pick up on that. Thank you so much for acknowledging that.
Well, I love that. I thought it was great. And then as far there's so many great quotes, but one that is really great from Bud Hopkins was, "It's all miracles, no religion."
That's
That is like that. I couldn't have even thought of it better. That is just so perfect.
I'll tell you the story about that. Actually,
Yeah.
Bud Hopkins was in a discussion with John Mack. It's on video at maybe MIT or one of these things, and someone talked to Bud and said, "This whole UFO abduction thing, it feels like a cult." And Bud says to this woman, "No, it's the exact opposite of a cult. A cult is all belief and no miracles. This is all miracles and no belief."
I like that. No beliefs. I like that better than religion. Right.
It's like that stood out for me, and that's something I wanted to share with other people because people have these experiences.
But
It's
I
not
would be too. And you mentioned that again in the recent new realities with Diana Pulsi. You brought
yoga.
that up, and also Viola Rose. I mean, in the process of wanting to be current with you, I look back on several months of your new realities, and you that's one thing I would like to ask you. How do you find these people? I mean, I see people's names. I try to find them. I don't get emails and phone numbers and agent names, but you find these people. Are you psychic in that respect? How do you find them?
I would say more than psychic, I'm obsessed. You know, I want to know. This
Yeah,
is
well,
my
we
it's
want
my
to know too, but I can't find it. I don't know how to track these people down. Do you have
I'm
a special app?
I'm in the community. Like I go to the conferences. You should come to Contact in the Desert. I'm going there in 2 weeks out in the desert. You want Nice, not far from
Yeah.
you.
Well, wait, where is it? It's in
I
California?
saw that it's. I sent you the information on that, but it's a 3-day thing.
It is a 3-day thing.
Yeah, and you can't.
So
Well,
that's
I mean,
okay.
it's
so
4 hours from. Anyway, we covered that, but go ahead. Yeah,
I go to the
and
conferences
you're hosting that. You're hosting that.
there.
And,
Yeah.
and so, and because of your network over the last 30 years, you must have an enormous email. Well, you got for new realities. When I looked at that evolutionary leaders, they said you only had 64,000 followers. You got 84,000 that I saw. I mean, like, and that is only an increase in 20,000 in the last year.
Yeah.
So
I have to update that. I know. But it's my business to seek out new life and new civilizations. That's my job.
well, we're a little late on the track, but we're seeking you out too, brother. We had a great connection, and you're so willing to confer with us or interview with us. We're having a ball because even when we saw you at Easter time, we didn't get this much time with you.
Well, if you come on the Galactic cruise, this is the Galactic cruise. Do you see that?
Hey, yeah.
Oh, to the Yucatan.
Oh, wow. We might have to do this. Oh, we should do this.
This is down the Florida coast, and these are some of the speakers. JJ and Desiree will be there.
Now, is this your cruise that you organized?
Oh, I'm on it. I'm part of it. Laura Eisenhower, Vivian Chavez. Do you know who she is?
Oh, but I know Laura Eisenhower.
Oh, this is one of my favorite people, Marin Gadwick.
Okay.
Cesar. JK Ultra. Did you know Igor? He's a good friend of mine.
I think I know the blonde over here on the up right here.
Lori
Yeah.
Spanga.
Actually organizing the cruise. She's the one.
Okay.
Watching her. Elizabeth. Oh, she's a Mayan. Here I am.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Well, this guy we saw at Bashar, the guy with the white outfit.
Oh, that's not.
No,
Oh,
go down.
Yeah, that guy we saw at Bashar.
oh yeah, he's been.
Yeah, Tony, baby. Yeah.
Oh, he was up there. He got to ask a question, right? You got to
Yes,
give
yeah.
him a question.
Second day.
Teachers. This
You
is the.
recognize the outfit.
We start in Port Canaveral, and we go to Maya Coast, Belize. But we're actually going right here. You see this map? We're actually going right through the Bermuda Triangle.
Wow.
Yes,
That is awesome.
yes, yes,
All
yes.
right, well, there's a new thought.
Anyway,
So you'll send me the link, and then we'll post it in the description portion of this video.
all right, here, I'm just going to put this in. Okay, there.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. I don't know why it says protect. I don't know what that means.
Oh, we can see it now. That's perfect. Okay. So this is your remote viewing course.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to our questions. Let me
But I will share that link as well. Okay, Jad, you're on. Or Rico.
back the host.
Oh, you're gonna make me the host again?
Yeah.
No, I don't care. I don't need to be a host. I'm just a visitor here.
Okay, you're the host.
See, what did we talked about new realities and we did a lot on making contact. So I think we covered all of that. And let's see. Okay, so you had a chance to see so many different points of view, and you put some really succinct bandwidth in the book, and you're continuing to go and investigate. Have you come up with a models of existence yourself?
Wait. What do you mean by models of existence?
Well, I mean, people call it new realities or realities of belief systems, but to me, they're really models of existence. I mean, we exist. How do we perceive existence? I don't want to use the word realities because that's really connected to your perception and it's also connected to your belief systems. So one
Right.
person's reality is not another person's reality. But we're all existing, and if you have models of existence, then you can go and say, okay, what is a model of existence? A la Gurdjieff and Ospinski and way back to Blavatsky. Everybody's looking to have a handle on what it is that we're existing in.
So you're asking me about my cosmology. How do I see the universe?
That's another one. I mean, I like to consider it. I mean, it's more than just cosmology. It also includes manifestation. So wherever you happen to be existing at that point, and your consciousness takes you, that what model are you using at that point to optimize where it is that you're at?
Yeah, I mean, when you say models, it's like, what map are you using, right? You said it's like,
Model, algorithm, a system of understanding.
but I have to say the map is different than the territory. You might have a model or a map, but do you see something that's not on the map, or are you focused on your model where you may ignore things that are outside the terrain? So I don't like to think it, this is my personal thing. You can look at it your way. I don't like to think it as a model. I try to take it all in and keep modifying it. Oh, there's a tree out there, but if I call it a tree, I'm missing the incredible being that's actually right there in front of me. So the model has to always be fluid to keep modifying the nature of our existence as human beings. So fluidness is a model, like always don't get attached to ideas. Don't get attached to beliefs. You know, belief, I have to say, is the lowest form of, there's belief and then there's knowing. You believe you're
Right.
sitting there, or do you know you're sitting there?
Gnosticism, right. I understand. Absolutely. To know is better than faith or hope.
Exactly. To
You can
know,
have faith and hope all day long, but you eventually have to know and then act upon it.
well, to know it, yes, but to know is better than to think, even because you're
Oh,
thinking.
yeah. Well, you
But
might start with think.
people end with think too. They start end with
They
thinking.
only think.
They only think, and then when we do remote viewing, I'll give you a little clue. We're not thinking. We're knowing. We're
Mm,
tapping gnosis, gnostics. Yeah, it's about knowing. So, how much do you know? So, we're always in our internal dialogues, we're straddling between thinking and knowing. Thinking, intuition, the left brain, right brain. That's another big part of what I talk about in remote viewing. Thinking versus knowing, feeling versus, your idea about something. So we want to keep dropping into knowing and feeling and intuiting. So my model of reality, let's say, um, it's hard to put in terms of model. I just think or feel or know was whatever I'm able to know at this level of knowing, because knowing is always changing, right? Because you're
exactly.
always more. So my world, my understanding, whatever you want to call it, is that this is a fluid exchange of consciousness that's always giving us feedback. That's one of something I learned from Nassim. The universe is a feedback system. If the light goes on in your car, it's telling you something. And so the universe is giving you feedback. If a bird flies by or something, it's like feedback. So, you know, with the feedback, we can shift our reality. We get in, if we start to pay attention to what's going on, then the light goes on. Oh, you don't fix the light. You look at the situation, right? So it's a fluid motion of what we're really here as conscious, sentient, HomoGalactus beings to bring the whole galaxy and the whole possibilities of who we are in greater and greater awareness. That's been my passion. That's why I've gone out there, met all the people, still meeting them, met you, because there's something to know here. There's a gnosis that keeps expanding upon creation in its manifestation. So, yeah, I want to know everything that we can know
Yeah,
and
I
more.
agree with that. Yeah. Well, another way that what you're describing is that action is really holofractal. Where they say it keeps feeding upon itself. So it's a fractal kind of creation that as we know more things, we actually create new experiences and then we investigate what they are. And so it keeps unfolding itself. If you've seen one of these fractal designs, it just keeps flowing and each one has its own element to it. And so we're in the midst of that. Now, obviously, we can't comprehend all of those 24 dimensions simultaneously, but we can know that we're flowing in that.
Yeah,
That we're in our own, and as we solidify a particular sequence, how do we handle that sequence? That's what I meant by models of existence. How do we handle a particular sequence when we stop frame on a fractal situation? Like, for example, you brought up, we're warring with each other, we're killing each other, and we've been doing this for 10,000 years or more that we know since Atlantis. I mean, just thinking about Atlantis and how a few people decided that they wanted to control Lemuria and they caused the whole continent to fall into the ocean. I mean, we come close to that in this time, in our day and age, with nuclear weapons. I mean, it's surprising that we didn't crack the tectonic plates in the Pacific Ocean with all of those explosions that we did. I mean, here we are 80%, let's give it the 80-20 rule. 80% of the people are sane and lovable and compassionate, but the 20% that are on here are ready to go and sink the whole planet, like they did with Murdoch outside of Mars, where they blew the whole damn thing up. I mean, are we going to go and play that game again? What can we do as conscious beings to go and somehow change that perspective of these 20%?
Well, you have to put out really positive vibration because thoughts are things, thoughts affect our reality. So by you being happy and joyful, optimistic, loving, you're contributing to the quantum field. But if you're just a bystander in the quantum field saying, oh, this is awful, it's going to be horrible, then you're contributing in a not so positive way to the quantum field. So, you know, Joe Dispenza's work, have you looked at Joe?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we've seen them, sure.
Yeah, so the what is his first book called? The How to Change Yourself, the Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that from our point of view, but the 20% that don't want to hear that, that are hell bent on being able to go, I mean, their solution to everything is tear it down, burn it up, and let's start over, which is crazy.
All you can do is put out a positive vibration. They're not going to listen to you, but if enough people send out, because what are you going to do? You don't want to fight them on their level. You
Right.
want to raise the frequency, and if they want to be in a raised frequency, then they might put down their weapons of war or not. But you know, Bashar says we're shifting to a new universe where that doesn't happen. And it's not to ignore what's happening because it's in our reality, but we don't want to contribute to it.
Right.
So not about changing them. You know, I also love the thing Bashar says, if you don't like the way the person in the mirror looks, you don't go up to the mirror and try to make them smile. The inner is reflected in the outer. So Rico, I'm not saying anything about you, but if you're seeing that and dwelling upon that, you look for the good, okay? You look for the happiness, you look for the joy, and then you start to change the vibration.
Yeah, well, my process is spreading the word through joyousness, enlightenment, and synergistic action. That's what I've been chanting now for the last 5 years, maybe
That
more.
I think that's actually the only way to do it. That is. Well, thank you.
Thank you. That was good. Okay, so that was I wanted to see what you came up with. Like, well, I've seen so many things, and but I like your explanation. We're in a flow, and we handle each situation with love, compassion, and joyousness. I
I
mean,
I try to. I'm not always
yeah,
perfect.
you do. I mean, that's how we were attracted to you in the first place.
I like you for the
Other than
same.
the fact, I find out that you spent some time in Long Island. Whereabouts in Long Island? Because I have family out in Long Island.
I didn't only spend time there. I spent like 20 years there.
Oh, okay. So that's where you started.
I
Well,
grew up on Island. I grew up there.
Oh, really?
my
Wait,
uh,
wait,
my
wait, wait.
godparents went from Brooklyn to Elmont to East Northport, Huntington area.
My
I-
went from Brooklyn, my parents Queens to Long Island. That's
whereabouts in Long Island?
what?
Whereabouts in Long Island, just for the heck of it?
Wantagh,
Oh,
Wantagh,
wow.
Jones Beach.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, you've been all over, but you're living in the city now, so
Yeah,
you're in pulse speed of it all, right?
yeah, that's one beat. Yes, that's one
Mm.
pole.
Let's
Yeah.
How long
see.
have you been in the city?
What?
How long have
Where?
you been in the city?
Oh, for a couple of years now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That is so cool. I
I
got to
love
know Rico. I was born in Brooklyn. I took him out there. I never been back as an adult because we left when I was 5. And so I said, if I'm ever going back to New York, I'm going with the New Yorker. So we went in 2019, and I'm glad we went when we did because 2020 was the pandemic. So we had a grand time. So I just fell in love with it out there.
Brooklyn, Rico.
But
We all must have been born in Brooklyn, huh? We
No, I
were
was
all.
born in Manhattan, Jewish Maternity Hospital on 14th Street.
All right. All right.
Before you. I mean, the hospital is no longer there.
All right.
I don't
Yeah.
think my hospital is there either, right?
No, it wasn't. I mean, and now it was a psychiatric clinic of some sort. It wasn't a hospital anymore.
Went from a hospital to psychiatric. That was cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else should we talk about?
All right.
Okay.
So I think we can. I think we're only 24 minutes this time. It says here. How long have we been?
No,
Well,
no. We are now, let's see.
over an hour.
Cut
Yeah,
out.
we're an hour. But we're
Okay.
okay,
So
right? Okay.
so we. Oh yeah. So we're great. So we did
Is
cover the
another
new.
30 minutes okay?
Yes, but then I have to go at like 7:30, about 25 minutes. I have another
Okay,
Zoom.
we're good. We're going to wrap up here in a little bit.
Right. Okay. Well, I like the idea that you covered the cruise. We did not know about the cruise. That adds a whole nother dynamic to our situation. And we got the remote viewing in because we wanted that. We did the new realities. As you must have probably, I don't know. It seems like you must have at least 1,000 episodes of
Yes.
all different lengths. The only one that
That's
I
a lot.
yeah, the one I didn't see that you did David. What did he? Who
David
David
Wilcock? No.
Wilcox? You didn't interview David Wilcox,
Did not. No,
but
no,
you know
no.
of him.
I know David Wilcock. We met at conferences. He was not so interesting for me personally, you know?
Interesting.
I
Well,
mean,
not that we're following him or anything like that, but it was just because he could go on. He's done some of his stuff in 4 hours. I don't know
yeah,
how without even taking a drink of water. I can't even believe it.
you should take a drink of water.
So have you asked all your new realities questions, Rico?
Yeah, I got.
Okay. Okay. So I'd like to just circle back to your book. I wanted to
Yes.
ask, what would you say that the message or objective that you hope to convey with the book is, and what do you hope that readers would gain from reading your book?
Oh, that's a very smart question. Thanks. The message is, well, there's many messages. First, there is a phenomena here. There is something going on that is undeniable. And it's even more undeniable the fact that the government is now coming forward and acknowledging it. But even without the government, people are having experiences, they're having contact. And that's the big mystery of our time. Like, there's that's the most exciting thing to come to human civilization is that we're about to meet the others. And we already have some of us. And get excited about this because they're not here to invade or take over or do anything ridiculous like that. They're here to wake us up to who we are because we've made a mess of things, like Rico was saying. And one way to shift the vibration is start to be fascinated by the unknown. So they're coming here to say, knew something else is possible for the human race. You do not have to be enslaved to tyrants of control. You can live in joy. You can live in possibility. You can live in the unknown. The idea is that I want people to know that there's things that are still unsolved. Science does not have all the answers. They don't even have all the questions for the answers. They
Right.
are the problem with science is, yes, of course it's given us the ability to speak like this, but it also gets very stuck in an old idea. Like you talked to Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said, no, it can't be aliens here because I've never seen it. You've never seen it before.
Mhm.
Get here using a technology. They don't understand that maybe they're not using our technology. Maybe
Mhm.
they have a different technology. It's like, people talking to you just had a horse. How could your horse run, or fly? It's like that same very primitive attitude. Science only knows what it knows, and it doesn't know what it doesn't know.
Exactly.
In this field, are saying, wow, there's so much I don't know, and there's so much I don't know about what I don't know. I'm going to try to find that out. mean, one scientist who's really pushing the envelope is Gary Nolan. He's a brilliant scientist. He's saying, no, I'm going to look at UFOs. And he had an experience. Hal Puthoff is a scientist like that. Nassim Haramein, Bruce Lipton. We're getting new, Lynn McTaggart. She's not a scientist, but she's a journalist writing about science. So there are some great minds coming forward in these days, giving us opportunities to perceive new realities. That's why I called my show New Reality, because I want to understand the nature of reality. So my model of reality is multiple, Rico, ever changing and ongoing and expanding, because there's always a new reality. Each moment is a new reality.
Exactly.
True.
Is awakening the neural nets of perception, which is what the world are. How do your neural nets come together, and is there a habitual pattern where you always maintain? No, maybe there's a new way of perceiving. You know, when I talk about left and right brain in my remote viewing class,
Excuse me.
I say the logic of the right brain is the fact that it can see patterns. Patterns are key, or the patterns of perceptions tune us into other ways of knowing. One of the great things John Mack says, I think I quote in my book, is that we need other ways of knowing. That
We are dealing with a phenomenon which violates our sense of reality. This will not yield its secrets until we discover other ways of knowing. I love that. That is, I got it tabbed right here in the book. It's a great quote.
that is one of my favorite quotes of all time. I can't believe you just opened up to it.
We're in resonance, brother. I know that.
Yes. I mean, yes. I mean, it is that John Mack's intellectual. Here's an intelligent guy, PhD, psychiatry, studied medicine, and he's looking at the situation in a fresh way. And he's saying you can't understand this with your intellect, other ways of knowing. What does that mean? It means that the ability to perceive is more than logical. There's an irrationality or a non-rationality or a gnosis that transcends logic. And that's the very essence that helps us remote view. So, you know, but it's also the thing that tunes us into the possibilities that there are other beings right here in this reality with me and you. There are beings here, perhaps.
Right. Between us in all three cities. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's all multidimensional. You know, that was one of the other questions. It's, you know, there's two kinds of schools of thought. Those that believe that the extraterrestrials are coming from other planets and planetary systems, and those that believe they're already here in a multidimensional way. That's how they can face it so quickly.
Right. Those are two not necessarily contradictory possibilities. I think there are extraterrestrials, and I think there are interdimensionals or ultra terrestrials, as Jacob put up with.
Right.
But,
That's what her text says. He gives you that whole spectrum.
but
Yeah.
I do think, this is just my theory, even coming from another planet is a slightly different vibration. So interdimensional means like there's a vibratory difference, but you know, there are vibratory differences of people on this planet. But also when you meet an extraterrestrial, there's a vibratory difference there. So and another model of my reality, Rico, is that we're all vibrating at different rates. And now we happen to be vibrating together, but you might see someone on the street or something who's not at your vibration. But you might see, and even at another vibration, you might not even see them.
Exactly.
So this is one thing we have to know when we talk about extraterrestrials, is that interfacing with them is sometimes stressful to our biological field because we're not used to their higher frequency. This is what Daryl or Bashar said to me in my interview with Bashar. I said, wow, I feel really good at the vibration here. Can you amp it up? He goes, no, I can't. I'll blow out the channel systems.
Right.
Exactly.
I like his line on that. He says if you want to look at it that way,
Yes.
you can, or you, and this is where the positive multidimensional way comes in, or you could say you have a lifetime of co-participation. I love that. You are synergistic with that vibration in a very large scale program that will benefit the world immensely. And it depends on how you wish to look at it. And this is two of them that I got bookmarked here.
What chapter is that in, Rico? I forgot where I put that.
Oh, 189, page 189. It was part of the Bashar
Oh, Daryl
thing.
wrote that as a favor for me. He really.
Yeah, but I mean, but that you just mentioned that, and there's a quote. Two
Thank,
back to back. Are we in resonance or what? Love it. I
thank you,
love it.
residents. Definitely.
Well, this has been really, really great, and man, we love
Thank
you.
you. One more question, Denise. Or
Is it my turn or your turn, Dad?
Go ahead. No, ask him. Ask him. I'm just blown away with all the synchronicity that we put on here. This is great.
I think we have time for a little bit more questions.
yes, we do have.
Okay. Let me look. I have so many notes now on my list. Let's
Well, you know
see.
what? We'll do a part two in a week or a couple of weeks. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
part
Now there's
two.
an idea.
That would be fun. Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
and we could.
We feel that you've just been so gracious to work with us and have fun with us and share your insights and all the cool stuff you have going on in your world. I do want to say one thing. It's not really a question, but you inspired me in multiple ways. And one of the ways, my birthday happens to be on New Year's Eve, so I had a New Year's Eve kind of gathering. And one of the things we were going to do were play games. And I said, well, I've got a really interesting game. It's kind of not really a game. It's more like an intuitive insight. And I did remote viewing at my birthday party. So I had this little box of objects, and I'd pull an object out. Everybody had their piece of paper and their pens and everything. And it's interesting because some of the people we talked about knowing and beliefs, a few of the people there, they were like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't do this. The people that were doubting themselves, it's almost like because they let go and just were like, this isn't going to happen. They were the ones that like would actually draw something exactly like what I had. And then the people that were like, I really want to get this. And they were almost thinking too hard. They wouldn't get it. And I think it went back to what you were saying that you can't, don't guess at it. If you're trying too hard, then you're trying to visualize it and guess it. But if you let go and be like, oh, well, whatever happens, happens, it's like, hey, this happened.
I talk about that a lot in the class, definitely. Well, maybe we'll use your box of things in the class, okay?
Oh, that would be awesome. I would be so like honored.
One more question before I go, okay? Ask me one more. Anything.
Okay. My memorable moments. What is the impactful or memorable interview that you feel from your channel that you've had? Like, if you had to give your top one or two.
Well, that moment talking to Bruce Lipton where he says, we are not humans until we create humanity. It's in the epilogue of the book, Rico. You probably.
Right,
And
right.
we only create humanity when we all come together as realizing we're part of one big super organism. That was a memorable moment there. I think talking to Nassim saying, well, we have anti-gravity, time travel technologies that are possible. Let's just see. I have so many. Oh, JJ Hertak talking about his meetings with Melchizedek, with the higher. And it's like at that moment, I started to feel that presence, like he was coming through. That was a great moment. Meeting Amma, the hugging saint. Have you met Amma?
Oh,
No.
from India. Yeah, yeah.
I'm interviewing her and she's hugging people. And yes, it's on my channel. And
Is
Oh,
she
it? Okay.
you've interviewed or you're about to? You got it scheduled?
interviewed her about 10 years ago. No,
Oh,
I've
10
interviewed
years ago. Wow. How do you
you.
find these people? You're amazing. You're a magnet.
Rico, I do this.
I know you do, and you
This is
do it
what you
well.
do.
Geez.
I follow my highest excitement. That's my highest excitement.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I wanted to say when the two of you were kind of talking back and forth about there's a new reality that it's constantly changing. Bashar says it's a billion times a second, right? And we can change the past and the future because things are constantly becoming that new reality, even faster than we could even count.
Yes.
So,
Well, there's more realities to come, so let's do it again, okay?
oh, that would be great. Thank you so
Because
much,
you were so
Alan.
generous. You were so generous with your time and the questions. I thought we had too many questions for you, but you were eager. You wanted to do more, and you're willing to do a round two.
Or
Yay!
We
So
love you.
we will share the cruise link, we'll share the new realities link, and we will share the link to the remote viewing class.
Remote viewing.
sign
Yeah.
up, sign up for the cruise. You're gonna love it.
Well,
Yes,
we'll have to
I
see.
think I can do, I believe I can do that, or I know I can do that.
Well, we'll see.
It'll be a birthday present to myself.
Well, there you go.
Birthday, we'll celebrate. We'll go to, okay. All right then.
All right.
Great.
Okay, well, thanks so much.
All
Thank
right.
you both. I
Thank
appreciate
Okay,
your
you. Great.
much love, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon.
definitely. Thank you both. I
Okay,
really
thank you.
All right.
your intelligence,
Bye.
your enthusiasm.
All right. That was
Thank
great.
you. Bye.
Wow. Was that one or was that one?
That
Holy
was
moly.
fun. You know
Was
what I was thinking while we were doing this? I'm sure you won't mind.
no.
I do have 1,000 subscribers on Infinitely D. I know most of them are because I had tagged Bashar, but who cares? I have an audience. I'd like to dub this over on my channel as well. It'll be HomoGalactus, but then
Yeah.
I can put it on the Infinitely D channel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because it's going to help it grow his audience. I mean, we're going to grow our audience, but it's going to help him grow his audience. So,
Well, it won't be many, who knows, but there may be a lot of people that are listening to him. I like the synchronicities that we had. For heaven's sakes, I mean
you
that
two are awesome. You two are like gurus
right
compared
on
to
it.
me.
Yeah, yeah, it was really, really a good connection. I'd
I
love to
thought it was
know.
great. I need to go
Trying
in
to find.
there and edit out that segment where it's, his
Right,
thing and nothing.
right.
I think Zoom allows you to chop out a piece, so I'm going to do that.
I would love to know what his birthday is.
Well, send him an email.
Yeah. Well, I sent him a text,
You
and
know what? You can Google him and find
I
out. You just won't
did.
have the
I,
time of
I
day.
googled. I googled him. They did not say. Nobody.
Mm.
So anyway,
Okay.
so that was good, and I probably over prepared, but he was so flexible and so
No,
fluid.
I think you were good, and I think some of the questions he answered even before we asked them.
Right, right, right. Well, he's definitely experienced. Well, that was great, Denise. I'm glad, and you livened up and you held through. I love what you did. You were a good admin and you were a good
Oh,
backbone.
I had to definitely muster that up, let me tell you, because I was crying earlier today. But I think that this helped me to raise my vibration. And one of the things I got out of my friend that passed is we are all so connected. And one of the things that Bashar said is, people cry when someone passes, but here's the thing: you're closer to them when they're passed than when they're in the physical. And I
Right.
am totally experiencing that right now.
Wow.
And every day gets a little easier, but I think the thing is, he had some earthly dependencies and things that were going on, and those aspects of him being in the physical that were like, I mean, I wasn't going to spend like a whole lifetime with this guy. But
Right.
now he's in the ethereal state, those physical things have fallen away, and I feel like he's more of the true being that I'm feeling more in my heart. It's
Right.
so I think sometimes you just cry because you feel touched. The
Right.
Arizona Republic interviewed me about him.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
You told me about that already. Yeah.
Because it was
Amazing.
myself and
How did they even
well,
know that you knew him? I mean, that's amazing.
because the way that you recognized how connected Alan is with his, genre and his circle of people, that's how it is for me here in Phoenix. And there was no accident that I was to come to Phoenix, meet the people that I did 40 years ago, reconnect with them after Mario, and there was a knowing within me that this is where my home was supposed to be because of that network of souls that I needed to reconnect with. And I'll tell you, I've had about 100 people texting me, calling me, sending me stuff. I'm putting together a memorial video. And each one that reaches back out to me, I tap into what that relationship looked like years ago and what it is now. And there's been a lot of reflection going on. And yeah, none of this is any accident. But I feel that his departure is really teaching all of us something. And that revelation of what we're learning is just monumental, right? Because when he was here, he had dependencies on alcohol, he had a driving phobia. There were just things that were going on with him that were like, I love you on a soul level, but you know, I'm not spending like the rest of my life with you because I'm goal oriented and I have goals, right? But now that he's gone, because all he wanted to do was have fun and play music and not get too heavily involved in the complexities of life. And now that he's gone, we all have this realization like, wow, he was saying the same thing Bashar was saying. Follow your passion. We're still being recorded. That's okay. But, you know, basically Mike followed his passion. That's what he did. You know, and that was what he came down here to do, was connect with all this whole group of like 500 people feel like this about him. And
Did you actually get the link for the cruise? I'd like to go and see how much that costs. And
yeah, I'll look it up and send it to you.
I mean, no, send me the link. I want to go and explore it. I mean, yeah, you say we go from the 14th to the 21st. I mean,
That's only a week.
We can
oh
get
yeah,
more.
tell us